In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use spare transfers you have lying around to turn basic barrels into something with a little more decoration for your battlefield. I've gathered up everything we're going to need here for this tutorial. So first of all, we're going to need transfers and something to put them on. In this case, we're going to be putting them on some EnderToys Terrain gas barrels that I've painted up. Take a look in the description. I should have a link in there if you want to go take a look at them. Other than that, we also need brushes. I use a larger brush and a smaller brush. Larger one to move like the water and varnish. Smaller one to actually move the transfer. I have a cutting knife out to cut the transfers out from the little sheet. Paper towel and water. This will be used to soak the transfer and get it ready to move. Tweezers to help me move and place the transfer. And then finally, 2 varnishes. A gloss varnish, which will act to make a smooth surface to put the transfer onto, and a matte varnish. This will just be placed over top to seal the transfer down, protect it, and help get rid of the reflectiveness from the gloss varnish. The first step to applying your transfers is adding a layer that will act essentially as a smooth surface that we can work on. So in this case, we're going to add Citadel Colors Technical Paint Art Coat. This is going to work to make a nice layer for us to work on. So the first thing we're going to do is shake up the paint. You're essentially just going to get some on your brush, and you want to paint an area to put your transfer on. Now, what you want to do is paint an area bigger than the transfer, just because you're never going to get it directly on the spot if you only paint a small narrow portion. It just gives it a bigger area to go on, makes it harder for you to mess up. Now, as you can see, I'm working on multiple barrels at once, putting the hard coat on. This just makes it easier, because rather than doing one at a time, having to go clean the brush, set everything up, we just work in batches. Means we can get a lot more done all at once. The next step is to cut out our transfers. So in this case, I am using Fire Support Squad transfers from the Dark Angels line, so I'm just going to cut it out. This part you want to be careful. I am using just some cardstock, but really you should be cutting this on like a cutting mat or even a cutting board if you have one. And again, just be very careful that you don't cut yourself. For this part, I start with soaking our Kleenex or paper towel in water just to get yourself a wet surface that you can work on. I recommend wetting the whole thing. That way you can use it to actually hold your barrel or whatever object you're putting a transfer on while you're waiting for the transfer to be ready to be moved. Now for this part, I'm just going to take the transfer we just cut out and I'm going to put it onto one portion of the wet paper towel or Kleenex. And I'm going to take a few brushes of water and just get it all over that transfer. This will help to separate it. And we're going to wait 30 seconds or so. While you're doing this, because we've got the whole Kleenex wet, we can place our object, and in this case just push it down a little and it'll help hold it in place. And we can always keep checking to see if it slides. Now that our transfer is sliding about when we get it wet, what we're going to do is take the bigger brush and just put water all over the area that we covered in hard coat. Now we want to make sure this is very wet. Then, using tweezers, and in this case our smaller brush, what we want to do is just gently slide it on and then keeping it wet, try to align it into a position that we're happy with. Now, I'm just here repeating the process, this time using some white Roman numerals on a blue barrel this time. So cover the whole area that was hard coat with water, and then using tweezers and a brush, move the transfer on. Now sometimes these transfers take a little while to line up perfectly, and there we go. This is the same technique before, just instead of using white on blue, we're using black Roman numerals on a red barrel. The final step in all this is to then take something like Citadel's Lamia Medium and cover up the transfers. So this time we're just taking our bigger brush. Now what you want to do is transfer it and paint over all of the hard coat layer. Now in addition to protecting and sealing transfer, it also helps to get rid of some of the shine from the hard coat once it's dry. Now for this, I do recommend doing multiple coats. You may have to do 2 or 3 if you're trying to really get rid of all the shine. So these are just some examples of what you can use any transfers you have lying around. These same techniques can be used to apply transfers to your miniatures. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you thought of this, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. Thanks!